exclusive group in the wrestling community. And now, your hosts, first, from Oahu, Puerto Rico, Macho Rodriguez, and his tag team partner from New Brunswick, Canada, God's Gift, Tyler Taylor!
¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Tonight we are doing our Monday Night Raw review. And the reason I'm doing this is because I thought this was a fascinating episode of Monday Night Raw. So we start right away with Seth freaking Rollins in the ring, and he opens up pretty much saying that he was taken to the limit by Shinsuke Nakamura. And he sat there and he took all that punishment only for him to win. And it was great. And he's talking about how he wants a smooth ride tonight. He doesn't actually want to have a massive challenger. He just wants a smooth night tonight as a Raw champion. And just when you think he's just going to party and dance it up, Drew McIntyre comes down to the ring. And here we go, guys. We're finally getting it. We're finally getting Drew McIntyre versus Seth freaking Rollins. But much to our dismay, the match isn't tonight. It's actually booked for Crown Jewel. I think that's kind of weird, isn't it? We're having a match booked a couple weeks ahead of time, and I think that's going to give us time for Drew McIntyre's heel turn to actually happen. Because my prediction for the match, and this is really early, obviously, it's just prisoner of the moment right now, is that Seth friggin' Rollins is going to be the guy who completely gets dominated in the match, only to have Drew McIntyre get this close to winning, and Seth Rollins ekes out the win, and from there, we'll have a full turn from Drew McIntyre. We go right from the Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins segment. We go right from there to the first match of the evening, which is the Viking Rules match. But before we do that, we do have a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. And as they're all angry and Damian has JD McDonough up by his neck, before we do that, we notice how the Judgment Day is kind of in shambles right now. And Rhea Ripley, I don't think we can say that this group is not led by someone anymore. I think it's very clear that she's the leader. She's the mouthpiece of this group. And she kind of puts everything in line and tells everyone what they're going to do and tells JD McDonough that later on tonight, he's going to be wrestling Drew McIntyre and he needs to finish up the Drew McIntyre saga before it gets started. Now, before we go to the first match, Damian confronts JD McDonough and tells him as much as he wants to get his hands on him, he wants him to finish up the Drew McIntyre business as well. So I think that's pretty interesting, guys, that we have this dynamic, and it's almost like JD McDonough's trial. Is he actually going to join the Judgment Day, or is it just like you put yourself in this position? So we have the Viking Rules match, which is with Ivar and Kofi Kingston. They get about 11 minutes and 15 seconds, and man, it was this really solid match. These two work each other really well. I can see why they booked them again to wrestle each other. I'm very satisfied with the work that they put forth, and I'm very happy with the fact that Kofi Kingston has been given ample time to shine because Kofi is just such a magnificent talent in the ring. I also like the fact that Ivar has had plenty of time on television. It almost makes me think that he might be the one between the two Viking Raiders that WWE actually sees value in. So Ivar actually wins this match with a top rope moonsault. Very old school, very Vader. And from anybody who's been watching our podcast for a very long time, or for the time that we've been on, you know that I'm a big fan of the big men of professional wrestling. Big Boss Man, Bam Bam Bigelow. I'm a big fan of these guys, and I want to see more of this. A big Van Vader, clearly, obviously, being that I was a big WCW fan. Yeah, I love the way that this is. Well, I'm just so happy with this Viking Raiders versus New Day feud. It feels fresh. It doesn't feel like we're losing anything. It doesn't feel like it's overdrawn. I'm very excited with what I'm seeing. Right after the match, we go to a backstage segment. Sorry if I'm looking down so much, but I'm reading my notes. Right after the match, we go to a backstage segment with Byron Saxton and Shinsuke Nakamura. And Nakamura just doesn't answer. he just doesn't want to give him any answers. He doesn't want to speak. So we don't get any Japanese subtitles. We don't get any actual Japanese speaking out loud. We don't get any English from Shinsuke. You could tell he's disgusted. Ricochet busted in and attacked Nakamura, but they had to be separated by officials. I mean, it was pretty interesting. So we go to commercial, and after commercial, we have a shot of Damian Priest holding JD McDonough up by the wall, right? Like I've talked about that earlier, but I thought it was so interesting that Damian Priest was going to cash in tonight. Why did you think that happened? Because he didn't really sell the knee injury. That knee injury happened maybe 48 hours ago. And now he's put in the position where he's going to just cash in, or he was going to try to cash in. I think we're going to get a couple teases for the next couple of weeks, maybe even a couple months, and we might actually get a successful or a unsuccessful cash in, but I guess we'll see. But Priest did have a problem in this backstage segment. He was angry. He wondered where Balor and Rhea Ripley were during the segment. She said they were with Adam Pearce because they wanted to get the Judgment Day rematch for the tag titles. But it doesn't really look like Damian Priest is interested in these tag titles. It looks like for once he wants to be the main champion. He wants to be the world heavyweight champion. And I thought that was really interesting because it's a way to showcase that the Judgment Day is all for one, and Damian Priest might be one for all. And I think that's pretty interesting. That's something that we need to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks. But I'm excited to see what happens. We go right to the ring where we have Nia Jackson, Raquel Rodriguez, and this is going to be meat slapping meat. I mean, this is going to be like there's two big girls going out there and just knocking the crap out of each other. And the match was actually pretty good for 7 minutes that they got, not including entrances or including entrances. I thought that the crowd was really poppy. I mean, Raquel hit Nia with a power bomb. I thought that was awesome, but not before Rhea Ripley comes down to the ring. And now this is very weird. Nia Jax got the win here because they said Raquel Rodriguez got disqualified. And I wonder if that was a mistake on air because Rhea attacks Raquel first, which would mean that she would be the one that got disqualified, that Nia would be the one that got disqualified, but that's not the way that the refs or the announcement went. Anyway, as she's attacking both of them, Nia Jax and Raquel Rodriguez kind of get the upper hand, only for Rhea to get like her comeuppance again. But before she can get back to Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler includes herself. That's right, I said Baszler. I know you heard me, D. She includes herself and she starts beating down Nia, but not before Rhea Ripley tells her to get out of her ring. Almost like, you need to get out of my ring. This is my ring. This is my problem. And now, before we can even blink, Shayna gives a German suplex to Rhea Ripley and a running knee to the face. I thought to myself, damn. And I said this earlier on a TikTok comment by a friend of mine. They posted about a video about Rhea Ripley selling, and I was like, she's the Mr. Perfect of this era. She's the Dolph Ziggler of this era. She's the best seller since Brock Lesnar. There isn't anybody. Those are three names that come to mind when I think about selling in professional wrestling. I believe Rhea Ripley is in the Mount Rushmore of selling. Look at the way she takes any move from a tall person, from a small person, from a big person. She sells it better than any man currently working in professional wrestling today. She is absolutely on another level. So we go back after that. We go to a backstage segment where Rollins confronts McIntyre, and Rollins wants to know what kind of games McIntyre is playing, and because he stopped the cash in, but he allowed Damian Priest to attack him. McIntyre makes it very clear he's not playing games. He already said he wasn't getting involved in anybody else's business. He just wants the title. He wants a championship opportunity. And I think that's great. I love that version of Drew McIntyre. I got to make it very clear to you. I love Seth freaking Rollins, but I am rooting for Drew McIntyre in this sense. I definitely want Drew McIntyre to catch this dub. He needs this dub in front of a live studio audience. I'm hoping that's what happens, but we'll see. I mean, Seth Rollins is on another streak. He's been, I saw somebody tweeted today that he's actually hasn't been pinned since January 2nd, 2023. That's amazing. That's a Roman Reigns level. Like, nobody goes through that anymore. And that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool that Seth freaking Rollins spent almost an entire year losing every single premium live event. And now he's been like undefeated since January 2nd. That's awesome. All right. So the second hour starts off with Jackie Redmond interviewing Shayna Baszler. And Baszler, again, calls herself the baddest woman on the planet. And no one would ever sneak attack her and get away with it. I thought that was pretty interesting that she's almost like calling it out, saying like, I dare you to come get me. I like that version because I'm not a big Shayna fan, but I like the development of her character. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I personally believe that her character has been progressing pretty well after the Ronda Rousey incident, or feud, I should say. After that, we go to the ring and we have the big segment of the evening, which is Michael Cole, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. And I don't know if this was a botch or not, but they used Sami Zayn's heel theme where it starts off with like the punk ska and then it moves into kind of like the more metal version. And I didn't know if that was done intentionally, almost like we'll come back to that. And he's going to like they're going heel, but they pretty much go out there and they talk to Michael Cole and they kind of go at it with each other, and only for Kevin Owens to kind of manipulate his way into a tag title match by kind of, using reverse psychology and messing with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso for them to accept the match. And now that's the main event of the evening. So we have an undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship match in the main event of Monday Night Raw, the night before what we consider to be one of the biggest wrestling nights of the year. I think that's going to be that match was really good, and we'll get to it at the end of the show. After that, we have after that we jump right into I apologize. We jump right into the triple threat match between Bronson Reed, Ricochet, and Chad Gable. And this match, for being a triple threat match and for being only 9 minutes long, I thought it was stellar. I was honestly like, wow, that was a pretty exciting match. But these three guys are just phenomenal, man. I'm a massive fan of Bronson Reed. He picks up the win here, and I popped. I couldn't even believe it. I wasn't expecting it at all. So now next week we have Bronson Reed versus Gunther. I mean, that's awesome, man. We're gonna have these two guys just hitting each other. This is a match that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I think this is gonna be great. But we also can't forget that Shinsuke Nakamura comes out of nowhere and hits Ricochet with a GTS. I feel like every single week they've been giving us a little bit of examples that CM Punk might actually be coming back to the company, but I guess we'll see what happens. We'll move on from here. As we move on from there, we have Becky Lynch cutting a promo in the back talking about that, that she's not 100%, but she's pushing her book. And as she's talking about her book, Xia Li interrupts her interview to tell her when is she going to get her shot. And Becky very clearly tells her, I'm not hard to find. So Xia lets her know, I'll come find you. And I thought that was pretty cool, man. I like the idea because I've seen Xia Li wrestle live a couple times, and I'm very excited. I think she's a really, really good worker. So there are tons of women in professional wrestling today that are just phenomenal workers. Xia Li is definitely one of them. I think a lot of you, if you went back and watched some of her stuff in NXT, or if you watched some of her early things while she was on the main roster, you'd be very excited with what she has. From there, we move into the one of the matches of the evening. I thought it was really good for the fact that it was 4 minutes and 4 seconds, including entrances, guys. That's right. Drew McIntyre defeated JD McDonough with Dominic Mysterio. And, I mean, they beat the crap out of each other, but McIntyre gave him some good heat. He really did. Like, he led most of the match, but he gave him some good heat. And obviously he comes out and he wins with a Claymore kick. But right from there, we go to a backstage segment where we see Priest and he looks super unhappy. And right as he's about to snap out, as he's done recently, Rhea Ripley tells him, don't worry, I have an idea. That's pretty cool. I wonder what the idea is. I wonder what she's planning. So right there, we go to a Wade Barrett interview with DIY. And Ciampa and Gargano let them know that DIY was bigger than them and that the fans made them main event takeovers as a tag team. And I thought that was really cool how they brought that to the main roster, because not a lot of people know who DIY is. But I was very happy to hear from DIY, to see DIY. But before I can get too excited, obviously we see that Giovanni Vincent, he attacks Gargano, and Vincent and Ludwig Kaiser lay them out. And I thought, like, well, I guess this is a good way to keep this feud going. I mean, this isn't really what I wanted, but maybe this is a way to put the way back together. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm just hoping that that's what happens. So as we move on from this match, we have a awesome video package with Tegan Nox. And I thought to myself, wow, this is great, because I'm a big fan of Tegan Nox and I've been rocking with her ever since, before she tore her ACL the second time. And I was very unhappy when that happened. Obviously, I was super unlucky, but I was very happy when she came back to professional wrestling, and she had all those videos with Brie Larson. They did the Captain Marvel, and she used like the Captain Marvel gear and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of her work. I've said on multiple occasions, I think she has a better Shining Wizard than Adam Cole, and I stick by that. She probably has the best Shining Wizard in the game, probably the best since Great Muta. That's right. I said that. I said that at the 16-minute mark if you want to come back and mark it and make fun of me. But you won't be able to, because it is absolutely a solid, solid move. So now we move on to what I thought was a super underwhelming NXT Championship match. Now, it's clocked in at 4 minutes and 28 seconds, but let's be honest, there was entrances and there was a commercial break. And I got to be honest, I've been at a Monday Night Raw, so I know what the live crowd saw. And I was very unhappy that for an NXT Women's Championship match the day before what's supposed to be one of the biggest days of the year in professional wrestling, they didn't get enough time to work. There was a lot of filler in Monday Night Raw tonight. And I wanted more wrestling from this match. I wanted, the way they've built Tegan Nox up, I expected this match to at least go like 20 minutes, like 2 commercial segments. I didn't expect this match to be so short. You got to understand that the minute mark that the match from start to finish, it includes entrances. And if there's a commercial break, then we also lose that time that we're actually watching. So I really didn't expect the NXT Women's Championship match to be so short. I expected them to take care of it, for it to be a longer match, especially when you have the man Becky Lynch. But the match itself was pretty solid, though. What we saw in the ring, obviously, Tegan Nox showed out. I mean, she looked really good in this match. You could tell Becky was just going through the motions and just letting Tegan show herself out. I love that about Becky Lynch, that she's such a pro that she has absolutely zero problem pushing someone like a Tegan Nox and putting her over, because Tegan came out a winner after this. Right after this, we go to a backstage segment with Tegan Nox, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Katana, Natty, and you could tell that now we're moving towards having more women on the roster. I mean, at this point, all of the people I just mentioned to you, we've also had Rhea, we've also had Raquel, we've also had Naya. I'll go through. Somebody posted a list. I have it saved on my phone here. I'll read it to you after, of all the women that were actually on the show today, and I was like, wow, that was really cool, because there's been a lot of flack that women have been given, that Triple H has been given for his utilization of the women on the roster. I thought that was pretty cool, though, that we had so many today. Oh, Kaden Carter, I'm sorry, that's the other person of the tag team. I apologize. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, because now next week we're gonna have Piper Niven versus Natalia. Yo, that match is gonna be fucking fire. You don't think that match is gonna be awesome? You're out your mind. You're out your mind. But let's talk about this random video for Ludwig Kaiser. I think something tells me in WWE that they really looking at Ludwig as a potential future like single star. And I'm just curious as to what you guys think about that, because I think he's money. I think he's real money. After that, we have Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn comes out to his full-on babyface music. So I don't know what it meant earlier today, if it was a botch or if it wasn't. But this match was 21 minutes and 22 seconds. And holy shit, did they beat the hell out of each other. This match was phenomenal. But unfortunately for me, the biggest thing in this match that stuck out that I can't stop replaying in my mind is the fact that Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso did their modified version of the 1D. So the 1D cutter, and Cody, like, he absolutely lands like on his neck. It was brutal, man. Brutal the way he did it. He just rolled up out of the wing he just rolled up out of the ring and Jay just covers him. He just covers Kevin Owens. After the match, they kind of had like their old school Ring of Honor thing that obviously only Cody would know about, and Sammy and Kevin, because I don't think Jay has ever worked on that part of the independence, but they embraced in the ring. And Owens, he held up Jay's hand after in victory, and that's how the show goes off the air. So guys, I was really excited about this show in general. I was really happy with what I saw. I'm going to try to read to you here the list of women that were on the roster today. I mean, check this shit out. This is how many women were on the roster today. We have to talk about this. So women seen on WWE Raw tonight were Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Becky Lynch, Tegan Knox, Natalia, Xia Li, Chelsea Green and Doudrop, Kaden and Katana, Natalia, Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, Raquel, and Nia Jax. That is absolutely insane. Just a beautiful move in the right direction. And I'm excited to see what happens next. But as for what's the potential, obviously next week, the match that we're looking forward to the most is going to be Natalia versus Piper Niven and Bronson Reed versus Gunther. I wanted to touch really quickly on what's happening tomorrow night. We have been confirmed by USA that NXT will be 30 minutes commercial free to start the show. And Tony Khan has rebutted by saying that not only will AEW be 30 minutes commercial free to start their show at the same exact time, but they actually have 10 minutes of run over time. So I wonder what we're going to see in professional wrestling tomorrow. But guys, let's talk about this for a second. It's a fucking Tuesday in the middle of October, and everyone is excited for professional wrestling. Think about that for a second. NXT, the third brand in WWE, and AEW, the secondary brand in professional wrestling, are battling in one night, and they've both gone as far as blocking out 30 minutes of commercial-free time, with AEW adding 10 minutes of runoff time. I'm telling you guys, professional wrestling is absolutely back. If you're not watching right now, or if you decided to stop watching because one of your favorites left, this is the absolute perfect time to jump back into it. I'm very excited for what's to come in professional wrestling. I'm looking forward to it. The matches that I wanted to highlight today that I'm really looking forward to tomorrow are Swerve Strickland, and I'm looking forward to Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson. I think that match is going to be killer. I'm also looking forward to Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes. I'm going to be watching both shows, and I'm going to do a double recap show after both. I'm going to be watching one on my television, one on my tablet, and I'm going to do a double recap. I'm going to be taking hella notes tomorrow, guys. Hella notes. Oh, From the Dungeon podcast decided to point this out, so I guess I'll just talk about it here. Yeah, absolutely. The Must Love Wrestling podcast has officially been blocked by CM Punk. So I don't even know if he's definitely going to watch our shit or not, but I'm very excited about it. Yeah, this is gonna be pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing Must Love Wrestling versus Working the Marks versus CM Punk. Yeah, I absolutely think that we'd be rocking with that. Quick story, if I could just say this real fast, but since you bring up Working the Marks, I'll have Pat actually tell you the story on Wednesday when I jump over to Working the Marks to do that podcast. But Patrick actually saved CM Punk's life. I'll leave it there, and we'll talk more about it. You'll have to tune into Working the Marks on Wednesday to hear more about that. But Patrick and his cousin Bernie actually saved CM Punk's life. He wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those guys. So I'll let Pat explain that. I think that's a pretty big story. So once again, guys, tune in on at 7:30 on Wednesday night here on YouTube to the Work in the Marts podcast. I think you'll be very excited, and I'll make sure Pat tells that story. But as for me, come back here tonight, join me at about 10:30 so we can go over NXT and we can go over uh, AEW. I'm very excited about it. Once again, I'm super happy to be here, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm out.